the relationship that I wanted. This saved my relationship. This saved my marriage. And so that's really the cool part about all of this. And if that's what you get out of it, then I'll be really, really happy. So without further ado, let's jump into it. You'll see this little animated version of me talking, and I can't wait to hear what you think.
Hey, my name's Christian. And one more warning, if you're a woman, this presentation is going to make you uncomfortable. The discoveries I'm going to share about what women want, what they secretly crave, are really messed up, and I promise you've never heard this before. And by tapping into this secret knowledge, you will have what it takes to make any woman obsess over you. In fact, I'm going to give you one of my very best tips in just a moment. You'll use it to figure out if a girl will have sex with you on the first date, and it works every time. See, some girls, they need to have sex early, and if you don't make your move, they get bored and they'll leave you for a more exciting guy. But others need a little more romancing, and if you move too soon, they'll get scared off and leave you for a more respectful guy. So trust me, you need to stick around for this tip. But before we get to that, I need to tell you a story, because if you're a single guy who's frustrated with girls the exact same way that I was for years, then I don't want you making the same embarrassing and expensive mistakes that I did. You see, like most guys, I used to think that money, looks, and a nice car were the way to a girl's heart and her pants, but they're not. And I learned this in the most humiliating way possible. In my mid-20s, I was the sort of guy you'd look at and think, wow, I bet he gets laid a lot. I was making pretty good money, I drove a cool sports car, that's actually me racing my car at the track, and dressed in Hugo Boss suits, but despite all of this, I rarely got numbers, and I almost never got past first dates. I really had no idea how to talk to girls, and I was just painfully insecure. So when this one waitress named Christine gave me her number, I was really nervous. Because deep down, I thought she was better than me. I just thought she was so pretty, and I would have killed to have sex with this girl. And the more that I thought about her, the more that I wanted her to be my girlfriend. In my mind, and I can't really explain this, but she was just so perfect for me. So when I finally convinced her to go out with me, I went all out, man. I spent over $600 on 3 dates with her, and except for one lousy kiss on the cheek, got absolutely no signals from her the entire time about how she felt for me. $600 freaking dollars. The worst part was that she seemed to like me less and less after every date. After the third date, I didn't hear from her for the entire week. I was just so nervous and beside myself, and just anxious and confused. I sent her 6 texts, I left her 3 voicemails. I was really hoping to turn things around. And it's ironic, if I'd only used a sex technique that I'm going to teach you in a minute, none of this would have happened. But anyway, she finally called me, and get this, she told me that she got drunk and she crashed her car. Now, she wasn't hurt, but she did get put under house arrest for the next 2 months. But did I get the hint that she didn't want to see me anymore? Well, heck no. I thought, this is my chance. I could be her knight in shining armor. I can take care of her while she's trapped at home. So I asked her when would be a good time to see her, but she just kind of avoided the question. So, me being persistent and wanting her to be my girlfriend more than ever, I hatched a plan to surprise her 2 days later. I ordered a $50 tray of sushi, a $80 flower arrangement. I even bought her some comfy, sexy pajamas from Victoria's Secret. When I left work that night, I picked up the sushi, and then I sped through rush hour traffic as fast as I could to get to her house, because I wanted to arrive a few minutes before the flowers got there. But traffic was worse than usual that day, so as I was pulling up to her curb, I saw the flower delivery guy knocking on her door. And just as I was walking up to the house, sushi tray in one hand, Victoria's Secret bag in the other, the door opened. But it wasn't Christine. It was a guy. He was kind of scrawny and dorky looking, but he wasn't wearing a shirt, and his hair was really messy. And then I saw Christine. She came to the door wearing nothing but a bedsheet that was wrapped around her. I could see her saying, "Yeah, that's me," to the flower delivery guy. She looked kind of confused. And then her eyes landed on me. Her face, it turned to shock and horror, as if I'd done something wrong. And she started yelling at me, asking why I showed up without calling her first, and telling me I had no right to do any of this. So she rejected all of my gifts, she told me never to call her again, and she slammed the door right in my face. I felt like I wanted to throw up. The flower delivery guy asked me if I wanted to get a drink, but all I wanted was to be a guy who didn't have stuff like this happen to him. I was so angry, not just because Christine was having sex with another guy. I was angry with myself for being so stupid, for screwing things up yet again, for having no control. Up to that point in my life, dating seemed like a labyrinth. Like there were 100 ways to get it wrong with a girl, but only one way to get it right. Well, as I sat in traffic on the way back home, I knew I just could not go through the rest of my life this way. I was going to figure this out. So I did something that most people would call totally insane. You see, as bad as I was with girls, I thought it was going to take a lot of hard work, a ton of learning to actually land a girl like Christine again. So I left my business, I moved to New York, and I went to work for one of the world's best-known pickup artists. I wanted to practice with more girls, so I usually went out about 5 nights a week. I read every ebook, I watched every DVD, I learned every trick I could find. And things actually started improving. I learned how to make girls laugh, but half the time I felt like they were laughing at me, not with me. Still didn't know anything about what women really wanted, and I definitely wasn't dating the girls that I wanted. Worst of all, everything still seemed like hard work. And after spending thousands in bar tabs and taxi fares, letting my health go down the drain, and only hooking up with cheap, gross bar sluts I'd meet at 1:30 a.m., I realized that being an alpha pickup artist was absolutely not what I wanted. I didn't have a real job at this point, I was in debt, and I was really depressed for about 2 months. After all these years and dedication, I still felt like I had no control. I still felt like a loser. I thought about giving up, but I still wanted to date amazing girls. I didn't want to settle for a life of mediocrity. So what was the one thing that changed and put me in the big leagues, dating famous actresses and models, making them my girlfriends at will, getting as much sex as I could take, being interviewed by CNN, Men's Health, and more, and having men around the world line up to pay me thousands of dollars for a weekend of training? Well, it started when I read an article in the Huffington Post about this weird thing called literotica. It's like pornography for the female mind. Think romance novels, but on steroids. Maybe you've heard of that book, 50 Shades of Grey? That's literotica. And as I read about it more, I was shocked and sometimes disgusted. Some of the most popular stories, and these are written by women, mind you, they're fantasies about being strippers or harem girls. Tons of stories are out there about delighting many men at once. And most bizarre of all, about 5% of the stories are about non-consensual sex and other really freaky stuff, and those are hugely popular. Now, you might think like I did at first, that literotica must be a small niche, but women devour this stuff. In 2008, about the same number of women bought literotica novels as there were men who subscribed to pornography websites, and I don't think I need to tell you that there are a lot of men who subscribe to pornography websites. Literotica is currently the #1 ebook category on Amazon.com. I mean, this is the dark secret that every girl indulges in. Chances are very good that just about every woman you know has gotten off on it at some point. And because this stuff is so weird, and because so many women are addicted to it, I began to wonder, what's really going on with the female brain? Because, let's face it, man, if you ask a woman what she wants, she'll tell you she wants a rich guy who can make her laugh, or a sexy Men's Health cover model, or a confident movie star. And that's her social brain doing the talking, the part of her that would never tell someone about her deep, dark desires. But I once had money, and I learned to make girls laugh, and I was still failing miserably. So I knew that it couldn't really be these superficial things that make women want a man. And when I began to study literotica and really understand what the primitive female reptile brain desires, well, a very different picture emerged. I knew I was onto something. I printed out story after story, I bought book after book. My desk looked like I was in a PhD program. I went through every story with a highlighter. I was looking for the stuff that caused women to become attracted and turned on and eventually to fall in love with a man. And man, it was crazy because whether the story was about some badass alpha male or even a scrawny innocent beta who she fell for, the things that led to sex and love were always the same. It seemed like there was an obsession storyline. And when a guy in the stories followed it, it made the women want to sleep with him and compulsively fall in love. So I went a little further. I began to read some scientific research and realized that this obsession story is something that women are born with. They literally pop out of the womb programmed to fall for it. And you have thousands of years of evolution to thank for that one. And that's why literotica is so popular and addictive. Every book that does well, it's pretty simple. It just follows the same obsession story that evolution has hard-coded into a woman's DNA. And what you'll find is that when you're the guy who turns her obsession story into reality, well, she can't